Good day, everyone. This is Teacher Cherry. In this video, we will learn about the leading coefficient test. We will identify the leading coefficient and the degree of the polynomial functions. And we will determine the end behavior of the graph of polynomial functions using the leading coefficient test. Ano ba ang leading coefficient test? Leading coefficient test is a test to determine the end behavior of the graph of polynomial function by describing the leading term. Leading coefficient test has 4 cases. These are: the first case, if the leading coefficient is positive and the degree is even, ang end behavior ng graph, the graph rises to the left and rises to the right. Ang possible sketch nito, so since graph rises to the left, so nagra-rise siya dito sa left and then rises also to the right. Ang second case natin is if the leading coefficient is negative and the degree is even, the end behavior of the graph is the graph falls to the left and falls to the right. Ang possible sketch natin ay falls to the left and falls to the right. The third case, if the leading coefficient is positive and the degree is odd, the end behavior of the graph is the graph falls to the left and rises to the right. So, yung possible sketch ng graph natin ay ganito. Falls to the left and then nagra-rise sa right. And for the fourth case, if the leading coefficient is negative and the degree is odd, ang end behavior ng graph, the graph rises to the left and falls to the right. So, ito yung ating possible sketch. So, yung graph natin rises to the left and then falls to the right. Let us have examples para mas maintindihan natin yung leading coefficient test. Let's have an activity. Complete the table below. Given polynomial function f of x equals 2x raised to the fourth minus 3x cubed plus x minus 1. Determine natin yung leading coefficient kung positive or negative. Determine the degree if it is odd or even. And then determine the end behavior of the graph sa left side and right side if it is rising or falling. And then isusulat natin yung possible sketch. Okay, the first one is leading coefficient. So, saan natin matatagpuan yung leading coefficient? Una, hanapin natin yung leading term. Yung leading term, siya yung merong highest exponent. So, ang leading term natin is 2x to the fourth. So, since siya yung may highest exponent. Ang leading coefficient, yung numerical coefficient sa leading term. So, 2, this is the leading coefficient. Is it positive or negative? 2 is positive. So, ilalagay natin dito is positive. And then, identify the degree. Yung degree ay yun yung exponent ng leading term. So, ang degree niya ay 4. Is it odd or even? 4 is an even number. And then, identify natin yung end behavior of the graph kung nagra-rising siya or falling. So, balikan natin yung table natin kanina. So, ito yung 4 cases natin na ginagamitan ng leading coefficient test. So, hanapin lang natin nasaan yung leading coefficient na positive at degree ay even. So, leading coefficient is positive, degree is even. So, ang end behavior ng graph, the graph rises to the left and rises to the right. So, parehong rising. So, dito sa left side, ang isasagot natin is rising. And sa right side, that is also rising. Since the graph rises to the left. So, rising sa left. And then, rises to the right. So, rising din dito sa right side. Kokopyahin natin yung possible sketch. Ito. Okay. So, kung mapapansin natin, rising to the left and rising to the right. Ang end behavior, the graph rises to the left and rises to the right. So, ipakita natin yung actual na graph ng ating polynomial function. So, this is the actual graph. Kung mapapansin natin, so nagra-rise sa left and then nagra-rise sa right. Okay, nasusundan ba? Let's have another example. Let's have number 2 example. F of x equals negative 3x squared minus 6x plus 4. So, what is the leading coefficient, the degree, the end behavior of the graph, and the possible sketch? Okay, unahin natin yung leading coefficient. So, ang leading term natin is negative 3x squared. So, the leading coefficient is negative 3. Is it positive or negative? That is negative. And then, determine the degree. So, ang degree natin is 2. 2 is odd or even? 2 is even. Okay. Then, the end behavior of the graph. Balikan natin yung ating table. If the leading coefficient is negative and the degree is even, then the graph falls to the left and falls to the right. So, parehas na falling. So, ang ilalagay natin dito sa left side, that is falling, and for the right side, that is also falling, since the graph falls to the left and falls to the right. So, this is our possible sketch. Gayahin lang natin. Okay, so the end behavior, the graph falls to the left and falls to the right. So, ipakita natin yung actual na graph. So, ang actual na graph ng ating polynomial function ay ito. So, falling to the left side and falling to the right side. Let's have another example. Let's have example 3. F of x equals x cubed plus 5. So, what is the leading coefficient, degree, and behavior, and possible sketch? So, leading coefficient, unahin natin hanapin yung leading term. So, yung leading term natin is x cubed. Ang leading coefficient niya, yung numerical coefficient, so meron tayong invisible 1. So, 1 is positive or negative? So, that is positive. So, ang leading coefficient natin is 1 and that is positive. What is the degree? Ang degree natin, yung exponent, that is 3. Is it odd or even? 3 is an odd number. And then, identify natin yung end behavior of the graph sa left side and right side. So, ito lang yung tatandaan natin, itong 4 cases. So, kung ang leading coefficient ay positive at ang degree ay odd, then yung end behavior ng graph, the graph falls to the left and rises to the right. So, sa left side, falling. So, sa right side, rises to the right. So, ang right side natin is rising. Ang possible sketch natin, ganito. So, falling sa left and then rising sa right. What is the end behavior? The graph falls to the left and rises to the right. So, this is the actual graph of f of x equals x cubed plus 5. So, nagfo-fall siya dito sa left. Nagra-rise naman siya sa right. Okay, another example. Okay, let's have example number 4. The polynomial function is negative x raised to 5 plus x raised to 4 minus 2x cubed plus 1. So, identify natin yung leading coefficient, degree, and behavior of the graph, and possible sketch. So, first, leading coefficient, hanapin muna natin yung leading term, yung merong highest exponent, that is negative x raised to 5. Ang leading coefficient niya is negative 1. So, that is negative. And then, yung degree niya, yung highest exponent, 5. 5 is odd or even? 5 is an odd number. And then, yung end behavior ng graph, kung ang leading coefficient ay negative, at kung ang degree ay odd, that is, tignan natin dito sa table, negative leading coefficient, and then odd, yung kanyang degree, the graph rises to the left and falls to the right. So, ang left side natin is rising, since rises to the left, and then falls to the right. Ang right side natin is falling. Ang possible sketch, ganito. So, sa left side, rising. Sa right side, falling. So, ang end behavior, the graph rises to the left and falls to the right. This is the actual graph ng ating polynomial function number 4. So, kung makikita natin, rises to the left and then falling to the right. Okay, sana naintindihan ninyo. Okay, that's the end of our tutorial. Before I end this video, I would like to share a simple quotation. I can't change the direction of the wind, but I can adjust my sails to always reach my destination. That is from Jimmy Dean. Thank you so much. Keep safe and have a great day.